Doctor Who Season by Season. Season 6 Review. Season 6 was a monumental season of Doctor Who. Not only was it the third and final season to feature Patrick Troughton in the lead role of the Second Doctor, but it was also the final season of the 1960s and the final season to ever be made in black and white. It also features a couple of massive turning points for the series, with the introduction of both UNIT, the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, fuck this unified bollocks, and the Time Lords. But does the content of the season equal the importance of its historical significance? The season begins with the Dominators. The Dominators is, and let's be fair to it, a complete pile of shite. This is one of the worst Troughton stories, and in truth probably one of the bottom 10 or 20 classic series stories. The regulars are fine, and Wendy Padbury looks a bit of alright in that ridiculous Dulcin dress, but as a story it's witless and dull and makes for one hell of a painfully boring experience. Even split up into parts it's as dull as dishwater, and attempting to sit through the whole thing in one go is not advised to anyone struggling to maintain an interest in life as it is. The Dominators might just end up being the final straw. The second story of the season is The Mind Robber. One of the most bafflingly overrated Troughton stories. The Mind Robber is certainly superior to the Dominators, but where it gets its current lofty reputation from is something of mystery to me. I just find it all rather twee and silly, so maybe it's just not for me. Next up is The Invasion, and yeah baby. Now this is more like it. This 8-part story is an absolute cracker from start to finish. Director Douglas Camfield is on his best time making a James Bond movie on the BBC Tea Time show budget and fuck you if you don't like it form, and he's aided and abetted by a terrific script and fabulous performances from everyone, including Nicholas Courtney back as dear old Alistair and now promoted to Brigadier, and of course Kevin Stoney as Tobias Vaughan, who out-Bond villains most Bond villains. The Invasion is one of my favorite stories of all time, and the animations of the 2 missing episodes on the DVD are sublime. Magnificent. Things drop down a bit into mediocre territory with the next story, The Croutons. The Doctor, Jamie and Zoe land on a planet where a race of aliens, the croutons, rule over a bunch of dippy humanoids, and every so often take a few students who show a glimmer of brain cells here and there and turn them into soup. Makes sense, croutons have got to have somewhere to live after all. Anyway, needless to say, the Doctor and company intervene and eat the croutons, and everyone lives happily ever after. Okay, that's enough bad soup jokes. The Croutons is not terrible but mediocre, and a strikingly unmemorable debut from legendary Who writer Robert Holmes. Next up is The Seeds of Death, which sees the return of the Ice Warriors and is also pretty mediocre but spread over more episodes. It's well directed and well acted, and there are a few neat moments here and there, but I've always found this one to be a bit of a snoozer, to be perfectly honest with you. Next is The Space Pirates, which I can't say very much about since I've only ever seen episode 2 and have not experienced the rest of the story in any other form. To be fair, maybe the whole thing is a colossal bore, but I've always found the existing episode quite watchable and fun, and Zoe doesn't half look nice in those shorts. Cough splutter, where was I? The season comes to a close with the epic The Wargames. And I do mean epic in every sense. The Wargames spreads itself out over 10 episodes and manages to be absolutely thrilling, magical and just plain wonderful from start to finish. It is a prime candidate for my favorite story ever, the major other contender being The Talons of Wen Chiang, which I sometimes choose ahead of it if no other reason than to piss off the PC police. Seriously though, The Wargames is sublime. It's got some absolutely cracking guest villains, who go from nasty, petty little sadistic psychopaths all the way up to incredibly powerful, world-ruling nasty petty little sadistic psychopaths. And the ending is just heartbreaking, no matter how many times you watch it. It's difficult to give an overview of Season 6. Much of the season is pretty mediocre, buoyed mainly by the Troughton, Fraser and sexy little Zoe team, and yet it also features 2 of the top 10 greatest stories ever made, which all by themselves take up 18 episodes and close to half the season. All in all, those 2 fantastic stories and the very likable TARDIS team, together with Zoe's catsuit and shorts, mean I can't really give this anything less than a B+.